Welcome to the Golden Handcuffs Guy podcast, episode number 12. In this episode, I interview Rebecca Williamson. Rebecca is really living her life to the fullest. She's getting a lot of fulfillment out of it. And what really attracted me most to her story was not that she got into some golden handcuffs and had to figure out how to get out of them, but she was able to avoid getting into that situation in the first place. So listen in.
Is it going to be something that builds? Is it going to be a life-giving interaction in some big or small way? Or are they just going to be an accessory or even an obstacle?
Get yourself uncomfortable. Do something that makes you not want to be there.
Dude, I can't even imagine thinking the way that I used to think.
So we were living parts of our vision and we wanted more of it.
Rebecca, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So this is Rebecca Williamson. She and I went to the same high school. She was a couple years ahead of me in high school, and we both went to a really small town, really small high school. So everybody knew everybody there, and we got to talk. And it's been several weeks now, but we were just kind of checking in on each other's lives, and it's like, wow, I love this story that Rebecca has. I got to get her on the podcast. So here she is.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So we were talking a little bit before we hit record here about your background. You got behind you. What do you got going on there?
Yeah, welcome to my classroom. As you can see, maybe it says Teacher Rebecca.
Uh-huh.
So I work for a really amazing company called VIP Kid, and I get to teach English to children in China every day. And this is literally, I just sat down here for this interview just as I would sit in my classroom. So this is very conducive to meeting here. I guess I usually lighten up a little. But yeah, welcome to my classroom. So I teach only level two and level 3 basic English students, and their ages range from, I've had as young as 3 to as old as 16,
Mm-hmm.
but the majority of my students are about 7, 8, 9 years old.
Okay.
And I've been doing this since May of this year, of 2019. So
Cool.
It's been really fun. And honestly, VIP Kid and doing this teaching English every day has provided a consistent enough income that I've just been able to put all of that savings away. And it's such an easy job. Like, I just show up and teach and I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have to prepare anything. It's all done for me. I just click slides and then it's done.
That is awesome. So how many kids are you teaching at a time?
So the parents get to book the classes, and you do kind of build up it's kind of like Uber, or I think Uber would be the best way to think about it with ratings. And so obviously you want someone driving you that has really good reviews, or 5 stars, right? So it's a similar system, only since it's teaching, I want 5 apples.
Oh, of course, got to use the apple.
Yeah, so I'm building up those they call it 5 apple feedback. And I'm building that up. And once the parents see oh wow, Teacher Rebecca has so many 5 apples, I want my student to go with her, or they can see other highlights that are on my under my teaching account, I guess. And I can't see what the parents see, so it's kind of a mystery, but I've been able to piece this together from other teachers. And I have a highlight, or I've taught so many classes in what their kid needs, or I might even have there's some tags on me that say oh, this teacher is really good with I don't know, pronunciation, or being very thorough, so they can kind of fine tune and pick which teacher and their kind of strengths to their kids' needs. So I have a lot of students, but I try to book 40 classes a week, because then that would get me 20 hours.
Okay, 30-minute classes.
Yeah, So
Is it,
That's
it's one-on-one or is it
Yeah, it's
like you're,
one-on-one.
okay,
It's
wow,
just like this.
wow.
Yeah, it's so great. And then the slides are there, and I have control of the slides, but they're interactive. So the students can like draw
Uh-huh.
or write or circle. Sometimes they can drag things. It's really cute. And most of them have the best behavior, and they're so smart. So they make it really fun too. Um, I think one of the challenges is the time difference. So a lot of times the hours that I'm working are like 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. on the weekdays.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it fluctuates obviously with our daylight savings time, so that's kind of like it is timely. Like when it comes, it's like, okay, I was ready for something different.
Yeah.
And then Friday night and Saturday night for us is their Saturday and Sunday morning. And
Mm-hmm.
what I've learned is the parents really just like book their kids. So like they just fill their schedules. I guess it's probably similar to here in some ways too. Like kids
Yeah,
just are
yeah.
constantly being like either stimulated or like,
Mhm.
have these things. And so yeah, that is a fun piece too. But then that means I'm working Friday and Saturday night because
Mm.
it's like they call it peak hours. So
Mhm.
the chance of you getting bookings during those times are really high. So it's a
Okay.
great way to get more of those 5 hour weekends.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's really fun. And like I said, it's very easy. Like sometimes I'm like, wow, like I just made $60 and all I did was roll out of bed. Like
Yeah,
that's so
th-
easy,
that's awesome. So
So
I can tell you're like really lit up by this. Is this the only thing you have going on? Is this all you're doing right now, or
no, this is literally just like the side, like the most consistent
okay?
income. I babysit for several friends. This week I babysat for 4 different families, and
Uh-huh.
that's pretty normal. Sometimes it's only 3, but that's fun, and it's fun to have like that variety. And it's all just friends, which is also fun too. That I didn't have to like. It just like happened. It was just natural. It just like came
Mhm.
about, and like
Mhm.
friends that were in need, and I was in need with just needing money, and like we're able to help each other, and they have great kids. So and it's not every day, so I think there's some like piece that I like about that too. Like maybe it's good for us, like me and the kids, that
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
not like at each other's throats. So that's nice. It's fun. And then my biggest focus, if you will, or I guess goal that I've been striving after for, I'd say, a little over a year now, has been my baking business. And that's really my passion. That's what I like to tell people, is that baking is my passion. And so I've started like a little business. It's very, very like still like getting the roots going. But there is like I don't know, like a foundation that's beginning to be laid, I guess, if you will.
Uh-huh.
And I definitely have a growing customer base. And 2019, as I like look back on numbers, that was the biggest year yet. And it's really exciting to like take a leap of faith and just go for it and just see like what has happened along the way. And I think part of that is like how we were talking before we started the podcast, like my Christmas time was very busy.
Mhm. Mhm.
I counted for the whole calendar year of 2019, I did over 530 pieces or like recipes. So
Mhm.
sometimes those are like cookies, like I didn't count
Yeah,
each
right.
individual cookie, but like um from what I kept track of, if my math is right, it's like around 530 pieces, and 52 of those were just at Christmas within a 5-day period. So I was
Wow.
very busy, and I loved it so much. Like it's my passion. And people were asking me like, are you still loving it? Like, do you still want to do this? I'm like, yeah, like I'm really loving it, like
Yeah.
for sure. So
Well,
that
that's
is
awesome.
what I'm doing.
And
Yeah.
it didn't wear you out. You survived and you're still wanting to do more of it. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, so you're doing that out of your home, or do you have a place you're doing that, or what's
Yeah.
this
So
baking business look like?
yeah, so it's really, like I said, it's still very in the beginning stages. I have a website. I've had that for, I want to say 5 years now. But for most of that 5 years, I've just been doing it out of my home. Then as it started growing bigger, let's see here, June 2018, I was offered to share space at a nonprofit that I've volunteered with a lot over the years. And
Hmm.
like, that was crazy too, because I didn't even like come to them or anything. They just knew about my um, desire to grow my business.
Uh-huh.
And they came to me and said, "Do you want to use our kitchen? Like, we have this amazing kitchen and we would love for you to use it." And wow, like when they said they have an amazing kitchen, they have like brand new, like in order to have their kitchen to like code, they have brand new,
Oh,
super high grade
everything.
equipment. So it's really nice. And I was like, what? So I was actually working there at the time as their janitor, and which was great. So I could bake in the morning, and then while stuff was like cooling and like secured away, I would clean the building. It was such a perfect like
Wow.
fit.
Yeah.
Um, and I wasn't able to like stick with the janitor job. It was sucking too much life out of me.
Mm.
But they still let me bake there, so it wasn't like a deal that was conducive to being employed there either,
Yeah.
which is such a blessing. And so when I have big orders like at Christmas time
Hmm.
or Thanksgiving, or really honestly, most of last year, yeah, most of 2019, I was baking out of there. I had to take a break in the summer using their facility because they have different programming during the summertime. But
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, they've created like such a great partnership as well. But it definitely is like a taxing thing of, or even just like more details to figure out, and logistics to like get all of my supplies and equipment to the site, and like sometimes clean the space and then set up, and then all of the like production time. So there's a lot of like pieces to think about, which I love all of that and I love doing it all. But of course, my dream and my goal would be to be in my own space where I could just show up and like I know where my spatulas are, and like, I could just like get to work.
Yeah.
Or maybe food is delivered and I don't have to go to the store.
Yeah.
Whether it's fun to shop, but like, just to kind of save time and like up
Hmm.
production. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to for 2020, to be honest, which I haven't really spoken too much out loud. I'm just like thinking of like, this might be the year. So
That's incredible. So
yeah, it's exciting.
somebody listening or watching this might be thinking, well, there's probably two sides of this. One's like, oh my gosh, that sounds really fun. It sounds like a great life. And other people are like, what? That's possible? Like, what's going on? So how did you get into this? Because you've got a few different things going on. Did you just say like, I want to go do those three things. I really like them, so I'm going to figure out a way to do them. Or how did you tell us the story of how you got to where you are?
Yeah, well, I could say like briefly, like the baking piece, because people have asked me like, do you have training? Like, did you go to school for this? And my short answer to that is no. I just have always loved to bake, and I did a lot on my own. I was in 4-H, which for people who aren't aware with 4-H, it's just an agriculture club. Like Reese was saying, we grew up in a really small rural farming community, so this is a big part of that culture. And I'm very grateful for that. It taught me many things besides baking, that I'm just so grateful for. And I think also like just my parents and my grandparents like just really influenced that love for
Now,
baking. What?
I have to cut in and ask, did you have Mrs. Beaver as
Yeah,
you did?
yeah.
Okay, so this was at the time the program got cut out eventually, but we had a class called personal resource development, and it's like home ec, like it
I'm
taught
impressed
all
you
the
remember that.
baking, and
Yes.
yeah, of course I remember that.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so I'm sure that played into
I
it
remember
as
your
well.
cousin in that class, and I don't want to throw him under the bus, but there's many memories.
Yeah, we got in a little bit of trouble in that class, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was Mrs. Beaver that showed me. So most of my baking business is pies, and I remember her. We must have had like a pie unit or something, and I remember a way that she did the pie crust, and to this day, that's how I do it. I think a lot of my methodology and like just how I work with the food, I learned from watching my mother, but
mhm.
I know like one of those techniques I saw her do it and I was like, this is genius. Like, and
Yeah.
I've always done it since. So that
Wow.
is kind of a really fun thing to bring up and like reminisce.
That's
Oh, I hope
awesome.
she's doing well. Oh,
So
wow.
anyway,
Yeah.
I interrupted. So
No, it's fine.
baking.
Yeah, so the baking, that's always been there. I baked my first apple pie at the age of 8, and that was all by myself. I was very independent in the kitchen, and that's been something fun to look back on too, especially when it comes to like pricing stuff, because I can tend to like lowball myself and then not really get what it's worth. But
Mm,
then when you start to like somebody challenged me like, what's your experience? Like, how many years have you been baking? Look up, what a baker in Chicago with that many years of experience makes. When I started doing that research, I was like, oh, wow, like I really am like, it's okay to charge this, so that
mhm.
has been helpful. And like, yeah, I'm very thankful for that experience. So I'm not formally trained. I like to say that I'm self-taught, and it is like definitely a passion and interest of mine. Like I don't really read too many books. I read a lot of recipes. That's what I gravitate towards. So um, then I would say so college is what landed me in Chicago, and I just stayed afterwards, and I worked in the kitchen, no surprise, right?
Mhm.
All while I was attending college, but I was in like the dish pit, so which is like the lowest,
Yeah,
lowest
yeah.
line,
Washing dishes.
and taking out the trash.
Yeah.
But it's great. And then I was able to just like, it's not really fair to say work up, but like after I graduated, I was able to take another position that was more part-time professional, and that was in the storeroom. So I got to see a different side of things, of like ordering and receiving the food. And I was actually in charge of ordering from all the small vendors, and then in charge of, like just managing a team of putting away everything
Mhm.
every day.
Mhm.
And I absolutely loved that job, but it was part-time, and it was just to the like cutoff. So I wasn't able to get benefits. And at the
Mhm.
time I really needed like that extra
Yeah. Yeah.
to just to take care and like live on.
Mhm.
So I was frantically looking for something else. Well, a pie shop opened next to my church, and so I saw this little pie shop, and I'm like, I'm gonna go in and like see if they need a baker. So I
Yeah.
worked there. Like, long story short, I worked there for a little bit, and which was great. It was so fun to like wake up and like go and bake and just like make pies.
Uh-huh.
But I think over time I learned like, I want to be the boss. I don't want to be baking to somebody else's standards. I want to bake
Mhm.
to my standards.
Right.
Um, which I think it took some time to like learn that, and discover it. Then I ended up going back to the university, and I took a full-time position. And at that job, I worked for many years. I think I was there for like 5 or 6 years, and I worked full-time, and I really loved my job. I really loved it. I was a kitchen crew leader was my title, but basically I managed all of the cold food and baking
Mm.
production of the entire university.
Wow.
Um, it was really fun, and I loved all the details and planning and like working with. I had a team of full-time staff and a team of student staff, and I interacted with everyone in the entire department, and it was just a really great job. But spiritually for me, like I was noticing in my life, like I was just in this like rut, like I was just kind of just going and going. And there was a message at church, or like a series that we were going through, and it was just talking about like, I guess the theme that I just kept hearing was like, don't be comfortable, and
Mm.
what's gonna push you, like, and also um like, are you like, what's motivating you? And I was really like struck by those thoughts, and I was just not okay with the answers that were coming up in my mind. I was like, I'm just like this, like I'm not like growing. I have no desire to be the director of the department. Like I don't want to stay here forever. That was kind of my thing. Like I
Yeah.
know I didn't want to stay there forever, but I also knew that like I did love my job. But I was like, okay, what else can we like tap into that I love, and like I don't know, that I could change.
Mhm.
So my degree is in international studies or international ministry. I went to a Bible school, so it was definitely like a ministry focused degree. So interacting with people from other cultures has always been like an interest and like passion of mine as well. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll like look into options here too. So I ended up going with a friend who led a trip of students from the same college on a spring break trip to the Philippines, and he takes that trip every year. It's like obviously different students every year, but to me it was like, this is a safe option. Like he knows what he's doing. Like we're not going to go and have like nothing to do. Like, it was very like organized and like thought out. And so I went not expecting much. It was just kind of like, let's like see what's out here. Well, I noticed as I looked back after coming back from the trip, I was journaling every day, and I noticed the first day I had already began to pray and say like, God, do you want me to come back here? And that was really eye-opening to me when I came back, because typically people are like, you're just on a high, like you're just on this like mountaintop. You just had this amazing experience. Like give it some time and you'll like be over it. Well, I wasn't like over it. I was so sure after that 2-week time that I was supposed to go back, and things kept falling into place. Like I ended up joining, that trip was in March of 2017, and I ended up joining a missions organization, raising support, going through training, like all these things, like raising support. I think I had to raise like $6,000, and I was trying to get there by August 20th, I think it was.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so all of that happened in like this short amount of time. And like I quit my full-time job. I sold my car. Thankfully, the landlord that I had and I got out of my lease, he was the one who led the trip. So he was very like understanding. It's just like all these little things were like working out. And even the support I had to raise in such a short amount of time, it was like thousands of dollars extra, which I would have never, ever imagined. So that was just one more like, okay, yeah, like this makes sense. Like, let's go. So I went, and my goal and my purpose when I went that second time in August 2017 was to serve alongside of a ministry that it's like a basketball ministry on the streets with Urban Poor. You're probably like, basketball? Right. You're like the most athletic person. I mean, yeah, I'm like not athletic at all. But in the Philippines, basketball is such a popular thing. Like they're just so intrigued by it, and they like love it. They live and breathe basketball. So it's such a like way to bridge the gap. And like there's so many there's so much poverty in the Philippines. And I was in Manila, which I didn't even know this when I was there. I looked it up like after I came back. But it's like the most densely populated city in the world. Really? And which is like mind blowing. Like I lived there, Yeah. And then like think of where we come from. Just like you said, we know everybody. So it made me very grateful while I was there for my time that I've spent in Chicago, because I was already like accustomed to like busy city, like fast-paced, lots of people. But this is like so many people. Yeah. And then there's a lot of poor. So I won't like sit on that. I think that's probably a whole nother like topic to discuss. But again, long story short, it weighed very heavy on me. And now that I've processed some of that, I didn't have a setup for me very well, like how to take care of like all of the things that I was taking in every day, because it is a lot for all of the senses to like see and hear and smell, and like it's very hot. Like there's just so much going on. Yeah. And yeah, like thankfully I was with a missions organization that really took care of me, but they were seeing like I was burning out, and I was burning out fast. So per their recommendation,
not because you didn't enjoy it. It was because there was so much. And
nobody was like bad or mean or like nothing. It was just like the people that I was working with are amazing people. They're doing such amazing work. It was just, I think I had needs of like needing to process what I was seeing, and like
very fast paced.
Didn't even know that was something I needed to work on. So anyways, that's being more worked on now. but so the missions organization, which I'm so thankful I went with them, they took care of me and they're like, we're going to move you to a different ministry. And I was like, okay, like, all right, what, like, I feel like I failed, like just maybe I should just finish here and then just go home. So I was only planning to be there for 6 months. So this is 4 months in that this conversation started happening. Or it was earlier than that. At like the 4-month mark, I had like figured out what I would transition to, and it was school.
Okay.
So, but part of me making that decision then to teach at this school, which was actually home economics, is what I taught at a international school, and the classes I had was middle and high school students, which honestly, the classroom that I taught in made me think so much of our home ec room that we had in high school. Oddly enough, this is kind of fun to like revisit with someone else who's been there. So yeah, so it was so much like that because there was like sewing machines on one side and like 4 kitchens. Didn't it always have like 4 kitchens?
4, yeah.
Like, yeah,
kind of little,
like the laundry. Yeah, it was so similar. So I did that, but I was like, I can't, like, I've worked with youth a lot over the years, and like, I can't just be here until the end of March and like leave like that in the middle of a semester. Like, that's terrible, and these are a lot of the students that attend the school are international students or like third culture kids or missionary kids. So like probably they in their short lives have already experienced so much transition and like change. Like, yes, they would probably adapt to their teacher leaving, but like I was like, I know I wouldn't be able to live with myself. And I was like, I don't have anything holding me back at home. And like funds wasn't a question. There was extra that was raised, so it was a very easy decision to stay and extend my time there. So I ended up spending a total of 10 months in the Philippines and was a home economics teacher for middle and high school students for 6 of those months. And it was incredible. And I'm actually going back next month to help at the school for a month. So
wow, that is incredible.
I'm very excited. So, but it was, I think that all of that was like huge in the transformation of like getting out of that rut, and even deciding to come back here was a huge decision because I could see the needs even at the school. Like, that's a very like posh, like high, amazing school, but they definitely have needs for people to be teachers there. And I was like, I love it here, but I was really wrestling with like, I want to be baking, so that was kind of my step
like,
into now.
To that point, to the things what you said that really amazed me about that whole part of the story is first, there was a point where you had needs that you were like, I got to go do something else, and you didn't do like the normal American thing and just go find the highest paying job that you can get your hands on, and then you're stuck to it because it's providing what you were searching for. You went and you found something that matched up with what you love to do.
Yeah.
And it still met that need, right?
Yeah.
And then not only after that is your spiritual battle you were fighting. You didn't just live with it and stay in that rut. You didn't get complacent about it. You went and did something about it. And that's a big part of my message I'm trying to get across here with the golden handcuffs is that's what they are. Is it's complacency. We get these things that they hold us back, and we think they're so good, and we accept them, and we just live with them.
Yeah,
and
I think
you were able to avoid them.
I think a lot of it's fear, and even coming back and being like, will the baking business even work? And that was a lot of fear,
Yeah.
But that was like a huge conversation that I had with God, and he was like, well, do you trust me? Like, I'm just going to walk with you. And I was like, okay. And like, look what he's done. Like, I just told you, like, 2019 has been the biggest year. Like, I think that's like, has it been where I didn't do any work? No, like I definitely put in work, but like I saw him like come through on his end, and that's been huge.
At what point did you hear that question?
It was almost like, what do you mean? The question? like
if God asking if you
oh
trust
yeah,
him.
yeah, it was the end of February 2018. So I was trying to decide if I should like go home and stay home or like start reapplying to come back long term, because I was like thinking, oh man, this is like a timeline. Like if I'm trying to be back here for the following semester, like stuff has to start moving,
Yeah, yeah.
because I would have had to reapply to a new missions organization and like raise more support. Like there was a lot of like pieces, find a permanent place to stay instead of like just as a guest in someone's house. Like there's lots of little things, get a car, like
Yeah.
lots of stuff there. Not to mention like the stuff that I had in storage in the States. And my sister had a baby while I was gone. Like there was stuff like I knew I needed to come back to America, but I was like, am I turning around and coming back? Because their break is very small. It's not like America. It's like maybe 2 months for their summer vacation. So I saw like the time, like I really needed to make a decision the end of February. So that's when that was happening. And I was just walking one day, like in my workout, I was just walking as the sun was rising, because that's like the coolest time of the day. So I was like walking and talking to God, and I don't know, it probably sounds so crazy to anyone listening, but I was just talking to him and just expressing like every single fear that I had about going back and pursuing the baking business. And I was just met, instead of like him being like, do this or do this, like with a really clear like direction, even he was just so clear to like, I want you to be happy. Like, what are you going to go after? And it made me think of like how a father looks at their child and is like, I just want you to be happy,
Yeah.
And I felt obviously like very loved by God in that too. And I'm very thankful for that conversation as well, because in the hard times that have come since, like I can look back to that and be so sure that I know that that is what happened, and that he was very, calmly telling me like, just walk with me, like I'm gonna be here with you. Like even at one point I said, what are people gonna say? Like people are gonna ridicule me and say like, you don't have a full-time job, like these are all the like things that I was thinking like people would say or think,
Yeah.
or doubt my decisions. And he's like, if they have a question, just come talk to me. Like, isn't that such a dad thing to say? So that's been a really fun, like, and necessary piece to look back to in the really hard times and the good times too in the last like year.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
incredible. So you spent 10 months there. What happened at the end of those 10 months?
Yeah. So I came back to America in June 2018, and that's when I started working at the nonprofit that I was able to actually bake out of too. And then that was a really rough transition, to be honest. Like just there was a lot going on. Like I think there was a lot of grief. That's been the number one thing that I can like pen down. But I think it was multifaceted grief, not just like grief from the Philippines, but there was a lot going on in my life. There was some deaths that were really hard, and like just stunning deaths, and that just really was hard. And then I was in a very isolated space, and it was a new place in Chicago that I had never lived before, and like it was, the people there predominantly speak Spanish, which is awesome, but it was like hard for me because anytime I go to the store, for example, like one day I had a headache and I went to the store just next door, and the whole transaction was in Spanish, and all I could think was Tagalog, which is the language in the Philippines. And I was like, I can't even think in English. Like, and then I was like grieved, of like, I miss this place. I miss that. I miss that like nobody, like I was just like grieved that nobody even around me even understood the like sadness I was feeling, I guess. Even it was crazy. So yeah, there was some days it was just really dark and hard, and then I was very isolated, so I didn't have like a good community around me, and I think part of that was me too. I wasn't really seeking it out. So things did start to get better though. I would say January of 2019, things started to get better. I reached out to some friends that I knew were like just they were safe people, and I just let them know like I'm not doing well, like my mental health is like really suffering.
Uh-huh.
And like my business had still been flourishing, you know, like it
Yeah.
was still fine.
Yeah.
But like me, I was not doing well, and they really helped like just walk alongside me and like check in. And I started seeing like a therapist
Yeah.
weekly, and that's been really helpful too. And just getting out of and processing a lot of like stuff that happened in the Philippines, and then
Yeah.
coming back and all of those things. So, and all the in
What
between.
what kind of things did your friends do to help?
I would say, let's see. Well, I don't know if I mentioned, both of them are therapists
Oh,
too.
okay.
So I
All right.
think like, yes, they're my friends, and I like obviously was drawn to them for like the fact that they were safe people in my
Mm-hmm.
mind and like friends. But I think there was also a draw of like me reaching out to them because I knew that they were therapists. And so I think maybe I came expecting that they wouldn't try to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I knew that they would like try to be very helpful. So one of them referred me to some of his colleagues, which was really helpful. And I ended up, that's who I've been seeing for the last year, is one of his colleagues. So that's great that they did that. And then I also babysit for them.
Uh-huh.
So then I was seeing them like 2 times a week, and they are just very intentional friends. And I've never felt like looked down on or anything. They just are like genuine, like, how is this going? And they remember like whatever is currently happening in my
Yeah.
life, and
Yeah.
they just check in. So like that intentionality and like actually checking in, and like, sure, our lives are busy, and like sometimes it's just like, here are the kids, I'm running, like, you know, but still that they would pause and enough to like have some moments that expressed care was really
Right.
really
Right.
beneficial for me. And I
Right.
actually live with them now, which is another fun thing.
Perfect.
So
And it
generous
just
people.
goes to show that you don't have to drop your whole life to be able to have a massive impact on someone else's life like that.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
little bit really went a long ways. And
Yeah.
thank you, by the way, for being very vulnerable with
Oh yeah,
that
thanks
part
for
of your
listening.
life. I think that's something that too many people, myself included, keep bottled up. And when that happens, it's hard. And
Yeah.
it's difficult to navigate. So maybe that advice will help somebody who's listening as
Yeah,
well
I hope
to
so.
reach out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So things are starting to pick up beginning of
Yeah.
2019. How's this year turn out to be so great? What all happened?
Yeah. Well, I guess another job that I currently do that I forgot to mention at the start. Let me back up even more. So the end of 2018 into 2019, I was working at Starbucks. I worked there for 2 months, which is crazy. Nothing against Starbucks, like whatever. I'm so thankful I had a job. And it was a good, like, positive, like, change for me to, like, have some human interactions.
Mm-hmm.
But then another opportunity opened up to work for some other friends of mine, and they wrote up, like, it was so impressive. They wrote up, like, this amazing offer, and my friend, the mom, needed immediate surgery, and it, like, very, very serious abdominal surgery, and they have 2 baby boys that are in foster care. So they're very limited in, like, who they can have come care for
Mm-hmm.
their
Mm-hmm.
children. And the boys are both separate cases too. They're not biological siblings. So they have, not that they would have the same needs if they were biological children, but they both have a lot of needs as well. And they were young. One was only born in December. So at that time in Chicago, it's very, very cold. So it's not even safe to really take a newborn outside, let alone like his, all the things health-wise that he had going on. So they presented me this offer to work for them, basically, no, not basically, as the full-time caregiver for their 2 babies for 6 weeks while my friend was in recovery. And that, I think, paired with like the therapy that I mentioned, really
Hmm.
made my life turn around because I was able to like fill a need, you know, like a very
Yeah.
tangible need. And
Hmm.
I was loving on these little ones that, I mean, they're so hard not to love. They're so precious. And then also, like, my friend is there, like, recovering, you know? And so, I don't know, like, I was just, like, with my friend every day.
Uh-huh.
And so, yes, it was short term, but it ended up being that I bought a car from them because they needed to downsize, and it just fit, like the timing fit and everything. And then that opened up more opportunities for me. Another one of my friends owns a driving school, and he had offered me a job like a few months prior, and I was like, oh, I don't need a job, I'm fine. And then I like came back to him like, are you still looking to hire people? Because I'm interested. And I knew like I love to drive, like I have a clean record, like why not, right? So I also do that. I'm a driving instructor, which yeah, that's usually the reaction. Usually people are like, what? I don't teach teens, which our school did just get certified to teach teenagers. So maybe that's part of this coming year. I don't know. But so far that's been such a fun job to have because I meet people from all over the world. And it's,
Mm.
I don't know, like I feel like for the first time I'm really using like my degree because I not that I have it all figured out or anything, but I am understanding and sympathetic towards someone who just came here. And a lot of the students that I've taught are just fresh right into
Mhm.
America, which, and it's so fun to hear their stories and like just learn like what life was like back home, what they miss, what's hard here. And then we're doing all of that like one-on-one while I'm just teaching them how to drive. And they're just such amazing people to watch and learn from and like observe their bravery even to get behind the wheel in this like huge foreign city.
Yeah.
They're probably learning in like a second or third language. Like what Americans do that, you know?
Right.
So that's been fun too. And then yeah, I've just been managing my schedule between baking and teaching driving, babysitting, and teaching English, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Like I think when we connected a few months ago or a few weeks ago, I was telling you like I don't think I've ever been this happy. Like I don't know where the money's coming from always. Like obviously the teaching is the most consistent, but it's always there. Like there's always money, and I've been putting stuff in savings. Like it's great, you know?
Why d
Um,
why do you think that is? Why do you think that you can just let go of that worry and it still comes to you?
I don't know. I don't know. Like I really don't know. Like it works out. Like obviously I think like God has a piece to play in that too. Like um I think you know, yeah, it's probably multifaceted. I think it's the Lord. I think it's also like my work ethic. Like I don't know, like just the things that I like to do too, that probably feeds into it as well. So yeah, and I've seen like if there's a drop in babysitting or a drop in even teaching English or the driving clients, there will be a spike in the baking, and it's not like something that
Mhm.
I've really like promoted even.
Yeah.
It's like just been natural. Like almost all of it is just like happened. That's like the best way I could describe it, which is
Yeah.
it's really fun. And of course there's elements of like fear too of like, well, it's been good so far, will it still be good? Like
Yeah.
is it still gonna keep going? Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely a part of it to like question. So
That's incredible. And the reason why you're like our conversation really stood out to me is because you're doing what you love. And if people haven't caught on by now, you're on fire with what you're talking about here, all the things you have going on. Yeah, and no one of them are the main focus in and of itself, but they all come together for this very delicate puzzle that just gives you this great fulfillment in your life. And
yeah,
it just it's you're glowing with all of that excitement. It really
yeah,
shines through you.
yeah, it's
So
great.
that's
And
incredible. So
it definitely gives freedom too. Like I could go to the Philippines next month. So
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Like it's really awesome. Like I don't know. That's fun.
I mean, how many people are able to do that? Because
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, this is cool.
they're like, well, I went and I racked up all these student loans, or I bought this car and I'm in this massive car debt, and now I got to work to pay it off. And it's like, you're giving up and going to this experience of a lifetime because of a car payment. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. Yeah,
there's a time and a place for a car payment. Don't get me wrong. But replace car payment with whatever other golden handcuff you want to insert, and you're trading this experience and this fulfillment of your life for something in the now. So
right. And I think too, like, that brings up like the deaths that I mentioned. Like, one of them was one of my college friends, Diego, and he just when I think about him, I really think about similarly, like, he was living a great life. Like, he had everything, you know. It wasn't without challenges by any means, but he went to work one day and he was a flight instructor, and they still don't even know what happened, but like nobody survived, and it was just a small plane, and three people died, and my friend happened to be one of them. And like, of course you can't know that happens, that would happen, you know, when you wake up. And I think as I've been like processing like from that, that's been a part of like this season of being back in America and like kind of being on my own. Like, I think about that too. I'm like, I mean, maybe that sounds like morbid, but I'm like, I think it just brings like a reality, you know, brings us back to reality in a little way of like, man, like, tomorrow's not promised. Like, I do want to live happy and I want to live free, you know. And I don't.
Do you take any action? Do you take any actions differently with those kind of thoughts and reflections?
Yeah. I think one big one, especially around like Diego, is and I think it kind of pairs with being back from the Philippines. So the people in the Philippines are typically very happy people, and they like very much more people focused. And I feel like they're just very aware, like more aware of people than our individualistic mindsets in America tend to be. Not saying all Americans are, but I think that's what the tendencies tend to be. So I remember coming back, I was training for a half marathon, and I was running along this trail, and I was smiling at every person, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, nobody smiles back. Like, everybody is so like just like this. And then again, when Diego passed, I thought, wow, like, I've thought about like the sadness that I've had, you know, and just I'm like, man, like, you don't know what's going on in somebody's life. Like, I was like, no, I'm going to smile at people. Like, yeah, I know it's not really a part of our culture to like really break the ice and like smile as you walk by. But I think that is one like practical thing that I really try. You know, and with it, whether it be anybody, and just to like pause, like just have that moment of interaction of like, I see you and you're a human, you know, and it doesn't even have to be words, but just, and if it is, that's great. But like I saw a lady yesterday and I said, oh, I love your purple like scarf, you know, or whatever, like just something to like pause and like notice a person. Because I think we're so like connected to our devices, right? And like just to like see their humanity. I thought like a lot during that season too of like, what if I'm the only person that talked to that person today? Like, just like how I was a few months before. Like, what if that's true? Like, okay, then I really want to make a point to like have that brief, even if it's the briefest connection. Like, right, there's so many like, you hear so many reports of suicide, and like, I know mental illness is a thing because I know I've struggled with it too, like just anxiety and depression. Like, yeah, that's what I try to implement in my everyday, is just any person I see is to smile, and like in hopes that spreads something, or even lets them know like, I see you, you're like, you matter, you know. And sometimes that even looks like the homeless people you pass. Like, I don't know if it's like this where you live, but there's sometimes people like just standing by the exits off the highway, And sometimes you see the same person over and over. And oftentimes I'm just so at a loss of what to give.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've been trying to practice is a simple smile. And it is hard because, of course, like I'm torn. Like I want to give you something, and I just don't even know like what is helpful, right? And like everybody's different. Like it would be crazy to assume that everybody needed the same thing. But I think, again, just that pause to let them know, like, I see you, and like, I don't know, like you're a person, you know, you're more than just someone here with a sign. I think that really has like been something big, I guess, that I've been working on. So.
Oh, that's incredible. You have a big heart. I love it. So what lessons have you learned that you would advise other people in a similar situation to either do or avoid?
Yeah. Oh man, I read a quote today. Let me see if I can find it, because it's like spot on with that. It was, I think it was Ralph Waldo Emerson. Yeah, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "God will not have his work made manifest by cowards. Always, 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 always do what you are afraid to do. Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain." And I just thought that really resonates with me. Like, and I would say, like, if you're scared to take that step to get out of the rut, like, do it. I don't think you will regret it. And I think that's something that, like, I'm an overthinker. I plan everything. So there's definite fear around me. But like, when I'm making decisions, that's kind of something I always ask too, is like, will I regret this if I do it or if I don't do it? And like, that kind of helps me steer. Like if I have like this big project ahead of me and I'm like, do I do it or not? Like, will I regret it or will I not? And that really helps me to make a decision. Because I don't want to get to the end and be like, man, I wish that I had traveled to Germany, you know? Or whatever I want to do. I wish that I had started a baking business, and instead I just worked at the university for 25 years, which some people, that might be their dream, and that's awesome. That I just knew that's not what I wanted to do. So, yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. And I hear so many different examples of that. So one guy that I really like to follow, he's getting pretty popular right now, but his name is Ed Milet, and he tells a story about he imagines getting to this conversation with God, and he shows him this person that he could have been, and he's just like, I don't want that to be anything less than what I actually am. So I don't want to be anything less than that perfect or like that greatest person I could have been. And that's where that fear is. Yeah. So you talked about 2020 having great things ahead. What do you see is coming up for what you're doing next? You said you're going back to the Philippines. What else? I don't want to say I plan, because I don't have anything in the works. I just feel like this really could be the year that I have my own space. So, and to get, all the like documents and everything in order, of like, on the business side of stuff, because I'm much more like the person who does the baking. That is my strength. It's not necessarily all of the behind the scenes, getting stuff in order, and like, I guess legal. I don't know, like all of that stuff. Like, I really just have customers that are friends right now, and they just give me cash. So, and I think that's fine, but I just wanted to grow into a space, and it would be really fun to like not have to rely on the other jobs if I didn't want to. Like I say it that way purposely because I do enjoy everything right now, but I realized like it would be really awesome to have my own kitchen and bake every day and not have to do anything else, I guess. Unless I wanted to. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Like I said, I don't really have it planned out yet. But that's what I'm looking forward to. I think it could be this year. So perfect.
It's exciting.
I gotta make a side note, because there's a book, maybe you've read it, maybe you haven't. It's called The E-Myth. The Demons
No.
Revisited by Michael Gerber. And he has a story about this one lady in there. I think her name is Sarah. And she loves baking, and she starts her own baking business as well
Oh,
about
cool.
pies. And I think that's what the name of it is all about pies.
Oh,
And
cool.
he walks her through really developing that into a business. So maybe that's something you might be able to
That's
relate
cool.
to with that.
Yeah.
That-
Wow, that's really
That's
cool.
what keeps coming to my mind when we're talking about a baking business. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Cool.
I guess speaking of books, what book would you say would change someone's life?
Oh, it's a great question. I know the book that came to mind when I read that question that you sent me. I would say it's a book called Present Over Perfect, and it just really talks by Shauna Nyquist, and it really just talks about being in the here and now and kind of like not letting go of the small things, but like being there, like present even in the small things of washing dishes or like swimming at the beach with your kids or whatever the small things are, but just kind of like stepping in and like kind of that pause, like kind of going back to like how my friends were just like intentionally checking in with me even in the busyness of our lives. And yeah, like just kind of letting go of like perfection. And I know like I tend to be a perfectionist too, so I think that's why it really like hit me too. But just to notice and like pause and like be there where you are right now, like just be present and yeah, let go of the perfection. Like it doesn't always have to be perfect, and that's really hard to die to. But yeah, I really like that book a lot, and I didn't read it, I just listened to it like twice. So in 2019.
That counts.
So
That counts.
yeah.
Present Over Now is what it was called.
Present Over Perfect.
Oh, Present Over Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, by Shauna Nyquist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Present Over Perfect. All right. Do you listen to podcasts?
Yeah, I do. I haven't as much in the last few months, but I do have a favorite.
What one would you say you cannot live without?
If any of my friends know this, but I'm a huge advocate for this podcast. It's called the Red Couch Podcast.
Okay.
It's the hosts of the podcast are a rap and hip hop artist by the name of Propaganda, and his wife Alma. She's a doctor, like Dr. Alma. So I have utmost respect for them. I think they just talk about a lot of really good things, and for me as like a white American, like it's very, I love listening to them because they're highly educated people, and I don't feel like I am a highly educated person, and they're people of color, and I just think that there's so much to learn from what they have to say from their perspective of the lives that they have lived as Americans, and this, you know, the skin that they have and like the beauty that they are because of who they are. And so they have like, they talk about current events, and they are, well, they talk about politics, which I think is a really fun, like they're my favorite people to listen to when it comes to politics, because it's not so much one side slamming the other. It's a very healthy discussion, I think.
Like a real politics discussion.
Yeah, it's invigorating to listen to. And then also, I mean, they just talk about like their own stories, and it's called the Red Couch Podcast, because they started talking on their couch, like just checking in, and their couch is red. So it's just really fun, and I think it's educational. At least it has been for me. And I've done a lot of work with inner city youth, and it's helped. I don't know. I've done a lot of work with inner city youth in the last like 10 years, and like hearing this podcast like in this last year, I'm like, man, this is really helpful, and like understanding people that I interact with and like love, you know, and just understanding like cultural things. And they make a lot of parallels to our current political, I don't know, all of the current political stuff going on to like hood, like life in the hood. So they have like a segment every episode, and they talk about hood politics and just like the parallels with like the way gangs work, to be specific, and to like how our politics are running in our country, which is and
Wow.
like worldwide,
Yeah.
which is so like I love it. It's just so fun to listen to because it's so, I don't know, so different, and like I said, it's very educational. And I would just say, like, if anyone listening taps into that podcast, just go with an open mind. Like, just listen. Like, they're really highly educated, funny people, and like great people too. So
All right. Red Couch Podcast.
yeah.
Perfect. So is there anything you'd like to promote?
Well, if you're in Chicago, buy some pie from me. My business is dottiespies.com. I have a beautiful website, and I cannot take any credit for it. Somebody made it for me.
That's all right. You're making pies. Can't make a website.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then also VIP Kid, like they're a great place to work. I feel very trusted. I think that's a big piece too in like all of my jobs. Like obviously I'm my own boss with the baking, but like even the driving school or babysitting or teaching English, I feel very trusted and valued, and like that I matter. And I think all of those things like really help somebody do their best, you know, to like just know that your boss or whoever you're working for like really believes in you and appreciates you and trusts you. Like it does so much to like want to do a good job. So that helps.
That's perfect. So if anybody wants to reach out, Dottie's Pie is the best place to go, or where should they go?
Yeah, they could email me, dottiespies@gmail.com, or at the website, there's like a contact page too. So dottiespies.com. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So what action should a viewer or listener take right now?
Oh. Step into your fear and do something about it. This is a new year. It's time for a new you. You can do it. Take on that fear. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a rating on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever platform you're listening on. If you want to see more, go to goldenhandcuffsguy.com, where you have access to my blog, my podcasts, and a bunch of other information to help you remove your golden handcuffs.